Hey, I'm Dr. Greg Ellis. I want to talk a bit about how modern medicine, the medical establishment, and energy medicine will never become bedfellows. It's impossible. As we've already learned, I've taught you that we all have an energy body about us. And this concept is called vitalism, that we're not just a machine made of parts, of physiology, of bones and blood and cells. We're much more than that. We have vibrations going on in our body. We have things called biophotons. That's light. Our cells put out light, and that's how they communicate. This work was done back in the 1970s and received little interest among mainstream scientists, and quite a few people's careers were ruined by bringing up this whole concept of biophotons and the idea that we have an energy body. So how did the fight begin? Well, Hahnemann discovered homeopathy in around 1800, and it came to this country around 1850s. And the homeopathic remedies were being made, at that time, they were being made of actual disease stuff. That's called a no-sode. And the homeopaths were curing all these chronic diseases that people were dying from because the medical community had nothing to offer them. Well, this hurt the medical community's wallet. So they actually formed in 1846 the American Medical Association, whose stated goal was to improve the education for physicians. And the unstated goal was that they wanted to crush the homeopaths. And they set a plan in place to do that. And they eventually did. By about 1910, they had put most of the homeopathic schools out of business. They put the eclectic herbal schools out of business. They didn't want any competition. Competition hurt their wallet. And they controlled the delivery of medicines. These were called nostrums back then. And there were ethical nostrum companies and unethical. What made the difference between the two? The ethical ones were those companies that sold their products through physicians. And that's how they set it all up. If you sold products through the physician, then you were ethical. If you did not, you went directly to the public, you were unethical. And that, of course, led to the snake oil salesman stuff. So Rockefeller and some of the other wealthy people funded a guy named Abraham Flexner, and he set about to destroy the whole homeopathic school system, which I said as he did by about 1910. Hahnemann Hospital here in Philadelphia was the largest homeopathic teaching hospital in the world, and they sold out, and they became a regular part of the medical establishment, and they still are today. So that's how that happened. Now today we have something called CAM. CAM, C-A-M, stands for Complementary Alternative Medicine. And people are talking about CAM. And they believe that it's growing very, very rapidly. And it is growing. But the acceptance of it is very, very small. If you go into any physician's office, my son recently broke 2 fingers, and I went in to that surgeon's office and I looked at the filing cabinets. There's just file folders everywhere. He's got all kinds of patients that he's doing. And the medical establishment is big. Any doctor. You go to any doctor's office and they've got tons of files. Are they really fixing anybody? You got to ask yourself that question. What they're doing with their drugs, for the most part, is managing disease states. And they're going to keep a stranglehold on everything. They don't want these alternative practices to come in. And one of the main blockages of the acceptance of CAM therapies is that 63% of all physicians oppose CAM therapies. They don't want them. They don't agree with them. They just argue all the time that we need more studies or there are no studies. Now, the Government Accounting Office years ago did a study about therapies and whether or not it was found that they work or don't work. And the point is, most of the studies, most of the work, most of the things we do are not studied. And that was true in the early 1970s, and it's still true today. And people are calling for more studies to prove that these different therapies actually work and do something. And we're just on the tip of the iceberg with that. So much of what's done, we have no clue as to whether it works. But the medical establishment all the time says there's no proof that CAM therapies work. Well, guys, there's no proof that the stuff you're doing works either. But they shout that out, and that's the way they get control, and that's the way they keep things going to their benefit, to keep these alternative therapies out. And it's how it's going to remain. It's going to be a major, major fight. So philosophically, energy medicine is not a part of the belief system of conventional medicine. And the whole idea of vitalism is not part of modern medicine. Modern medicine thinks we're just machines, and that we base our therapies on a study of physiology and anatomy and chemistry. Far, far removed from what we actually are. So this is why the clash exists between homeopathy and modern medicine. And of course they say that homeopathy does not work, even though we've got 200 years of evidence and millions of books and millions of practitioners showing that it does work and that it's extraordinarily powerful. And it's a really great thing to get interested in. Go beyond. You got to go beyond diet. You got to go beyond nutrition supplements. And there's a whole other world out there that you can participate in. But you're going to have to make that quantum leap to step aside and not keep buying into all the standard rhetoric that's offered up by the medical establishment. So that's why this clash exists. That's how long it's been going on. And this is how homeopathy got crushed. It got revitalized, of course, with the coming of the internet. And there's a lot that you can find out there. But trust me, it does work. Use homeopathic remedies. We'll be having the program up on the site here pretty soon. You can see the specific remedies I have to do drainage work, which augments your elimination. And then I've got quite a few products that are called acute care, like cold and flu drops, intestinal drops. Body Mend is a great product, and that will help in the healing process in any kind of pain or injury. So take a look at all that stuff and embrace this and get involved with this. I'm Dr. Greg Ellis.